hi to all the panelists here. We have with us Rajiv Malik, Senior Director of Wacom India, Mr. Chaitanya Chinchalkar, Vice President and Business Head, Whistling Woods International, Mr. Anant Rungta, MD, Famous Studios, and myself, Editor of Digital Studio India here today. And we are going to be discussing, as you guys can see on your screen, it's finding the sweet spot, or if I may add, it's not really spot. It's like it's finding the sweet OTT. So OTT is the biggest disruptor, I'd say, in the media industry, and this is what we're here to discuss today. And all guys joining in, please join in quickly. We are here, and the session is recorded for your perusal later. Any questions during the course of the webinar could be please post it in the question and answer section. I will try to ask all that I can to our esteemed panelists here. So hi again, hi and welcome to everybody. Hi Chaitanya, hi Anand, hi Rajiv.
Thanks for having us. Hi to everybody.
Oh, my pleasure, and thanks for taking the time out for this webinar, because we are discussing something that is, as I just previously mentioned, one of the biggest disruptors in the media industry. And OTT, I'd say, was always a very proliferated concept, but especially after the pandemic, I'd say things have changed, because I don't remember the last time I actually walked into a cinema theater to watch a movie. I don't remember that. And especially the past 1.5 years, everything, all the new releases, all your favorite movies, all your favorite artists are just on OTT. So OTT is like the biggest buzzword doing the rounds of the media industry, the hottest new buzzword. So this is what we're here to discuss today, how OTT, how content production has changed over the past 1.5 years, how we've been taught new things, new workflows, everything. So everything new about content, new workflows, and basically everything OTT. So do we dive in, guys? Are you all ready?
Yeah. Ready.
How has the pandemic changed the traditional conventions of content production in studios? How would you like to add to that, Mr. Chaitanya?
So, hello, hi everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. So before we get to that, and you briefly mentioned about how OTT consumption has been impacted significantly by the pandemic, but this is something that was already on the way, right? So in 2016, 2015, 2016, I remember I was addressing the annual Screenwriters Conference, talking about content creation for digital platforms. And India's first YouTuber had just hit 1 million subscribers the earlier year. And essentially, I was telling a room full of screenwriters to be ready for their content to be viewed on a 13-inch screen, right, which is the laptop 13 to 15-inch screen. And I could see a lot of people who were, some of them were nodding their heads, most of them were shaking their heads saying, ये business head आ गया हमको बताने के content कहाँ दिखेगा हमारा. And I realized that it will take some time for them to get it. And back then, I remember I said within 5 years, the digital content industry will be larger than the film industry. It took only 3 years. By the end of 2019, the OTT industry was already larger than the film industry. So even if the pandemic had not happened, it would have still eclipsed the industry, though not as drastically as it has over the past year and a half. And that's primarily because 60% of the filmed entertainment industry, which is cinema, has been taken away completely.
Correct.
So the evolution of content on OTT would have anyway happened, and it has happened, and the pandemic has accelerated it. It's the third content consumption platform. So you had filmed entertainment since the 1880s. You had television since the 1940s. Digital content since the early 2000s. Seriously. So it's the third content consumption platform. It's the first content consumption platform that's individual. So you're not being judged for what you watch, which means that there is an audience for every single kind of content. And that really lends itself to a massive expansion in the spectrum of content created, because you are no longer catering either to a community, which is cinema, or to a family, which is television. For the first time, we are able to cater to the individual. So it's a combination of a lot of these, along with the big, huge boost of massive internet penetration in India, and the fact that everybody was just forced to hunker down and sit at home for a really, really long time, which, it's like an Aristotelian confluence of events which has come together to prop up and to elevate this fantastic new content ecosystem.
Right.
Now, when it comes to production of this content, yes, there was a lot of it already happening. But what has happened is because of the presence of studios, and Netflix is a studio in addition to being a platform in brands like Netflix and Amazon and Disney Plus Hotstar. A lot of the global best practices which have been deployed the world over in content creation have come into India. Now, unlike in cinema where we had our own way of doing things, and then when the studios came in, the global studios came in, our production houses had to quickly adapt. In this case, we weren't really doing digital content production for a really long time. So when Netflix, Amazon came in, it was far easier. It's almost like a lot of people started with the best practices.
Correct, yes.
And that is really the big change that I see in the production houses of today, that a lot of them who have added OTT content creation to their portfolio have realized that their efficiency in creating OTT content is much more than their efficiency in creating filmed entertainment. And a lot of that is because they have started to deploy the best practices that Netflix, Amazon et al. Have, brought into the industry. So whether it's better planning, whether it's the almost a separation, or sorry, a lack of separation between what is principal photography and post-production, because in serialized content, you can't have those silos. Many a time, post-production of episode 1 is already started while you're shooting episode 4, right? So on and so forth. So a lot of this better planning, better management, which on top of the great execution skills that India always had, right, has enabled us to be really a good powerhouse in OTT content production.
And as you mentioned, this has also sort of completely tweaked the workflows, like end-to-end workflows, the step-by-step procedure, everything. So because you are the MD of the studio, and how would you like to add to that? Like, how have you? What do you think has the workflow undergone? Has it got a transformation, a facelift, and is that facelift here to stay? Like, has it become a mainstay now? What would you add to that?
So, firstly, guys, thank you for having me, ITP, and welcome to all the attendees. So I will agree and I concur with every single point that Chaitanya made when he was giving his point of view. So, for us, historically, we've been a studio that has processed only TV commercials for the last 20 odd years. But 2019 onwards, we took the step of, entering the long format post-production business, because I realized that the video on demand part of content consumption, which are OTT platforms, they're going to make content left, right, and center. Different genres have come in. For example, you might have realized in the last few years, biopics and real life adaptations of books and stories have come through as well. So the amount of content that is being produced right now, it's all the more important for every single variable, every single individual that's part of the process to reach a certain level, a certain standard operating procedure. And fortunately, as Chaitanya has mentioned, because the OTT platforms were raw, they came in, but they came in with these hard-hitting SOPs. And because they've come in with these hard-hitting SOPs, any partner that they have in post or in production have to follow those SOPs. And that has made life a lot easier as compared to your a typical studio or a production house that sets forward to make a theatrical film only. Now the requirements have changed, and these are all international standards. Yes, the execution capability of talent and studios in India, second to none as compared to the rest of the world. But yes, it's now somewhere merging into a hybrid working format, as what I have seen in my experience, whether it is TV commercials or whether it is long format production as well. There is a bit that's happening online, but then there has to also be a physical presence on set.
Correct.
You know, it cannot be shot virtually. At least in 2021, it will not be possible. But I think in terms of technology, yes, extremely important to have everything up to date. And as a studio, extremely important to partner with stakeholders like one of our sponsors, your Wacom, for example, or it's Autodesk, or any of the other big guys, to really and even Chaitanya, for example, he's doing a really good job training the next generation. For them to have that, it's not just about the skill set on the machine, it's also about getting your mind ready to face a challenge like this. Because end of the day, you put a certain budget to a production, say 10 crores to make a movie, but if a COVID like scenario was to surface again, or any kind of disease, you have to have that presence of mind to tweak your workflow in such a way that doesn't destroy the final output, and you're able to push the film out or the content out. Yes, the internet penetration is, if you think India is, it's penetrated, yet in India, it's not even close. We know a few people that are actually laying down fiber cables in parts of the country you cannot even imagine. So it's going to explode to epic proportions. And end of the day, people want content. That is the one source of entertainment. That is when the entire family during dinner or after dinner gets together for that 1 hour of chill time to watch a genre of whether it's action or it's sport or it's any kind of a good family related film. There are so many opportunities that are going to come up in every genre. I think it's a time where the Indian film industry, I'm not going to say only Bollywood, because regional content is also picking up like crazy. So we ourselves have also tweaked our infra and talent in such a way that we are now working on a lot of localization. So a lot of Hotstars, rather Disney's old catalog titles, we have been one of their centralized mixing facilities for content that goes onto the Hotstar app in different languages. We're looking at regional in a very big way, not only as a post house, but also as a production studio moving forward. So I think it's good times. There is enough technology and software available to make it happen. It's just about training and teaching the people of how they can become comfortable using that tech so that there is no stoppage in workflow.
Right. So the challenges that you guys have mentioned, do they also apply to content delivery? Rajiv, if you want to elaborate on that. How has content delivery been impacted over the past 1.5 years, and how has that given an impetus to OTT?
See, I will talk about this post production.
Right.
Definitely, as Anand and Chaitanya mentioned, this industry has grown multifold. Nobody expected the way it has grown, and we can see the way technology is being adopted by production houses all across the world. And Anand rightly said, hybrid is the word that's going to be the norm for next couple of years. So when we talk about hybrid, till the end in the overall workflow, the biggest bottleneck, what we feel, is the remote working, and that there are certain pain points for the creative guys who are working remotely. One is the biggest challenge is latency, which is frustrating sometimes, and the network speeds and all. So real time, how technology can be adopted effectively in the most effective way, that the artist or creative director or any creative guy doesn't feel that he is working remotely.
Yes.
He can exactly same feel that it's his own studio workstation.
Correct.
Yes, Chaitanya sometimes back mentioned that, and also Anand, that 100% remote may not be practical at all.
Yeah.
But adopting the way of hybrid, that some part in studio and some part remotely, how it can be integrated in such a way that these bottlenecks of remote workflow through softwares like Teradici, like Wacom, being
Yeah.
the industry leader, we are working towards these bottlenecks while collaborating with softwares like Teradici. We are compatible with Windows RDC. So where remote display is required, where artists can seamlessly work as if he's sitting in the studio. So the products, we are making our products, more and more products like professional series and displays compatible for such kind of environment. And I think we have the technology in place. It's all about planning and adopting
Integrating it.
and integrating the technology with the current workflow. Yeah.
Correct, correct. So I remember the last webinar we had. I mean, all the panelists actually were focusing especially on hybrid models because, as you guys, as all of you just mentioned, just remote or just personal won't work. It has to be a mix of both to bring out the best. So hybrid technology. When I think about technology, how do you guys feel is technology aiding production efficiency and content development during these uncertain times?
Just like OTT industry kind of has had a steeper learning curve from what it already had. Exactly the same thing with usage of tech deployment in content creation. While it has always been happening and slowly it's been increasing. When you have no options, you have no options, and you're forced to kind of use it and make the best of it, which really enables you to bring out the best.
Right.
So if you can't travel, you can't travel. Right? But
Right.
if an ad has to be shot in Serbia, it has to be shot in Serbia. It can't be shot somewhere else
Right.
because that's where the location is. Or if you have to shoot it at the Golden Gate Bridge, that's where you have to shoot it. So either you go send somebody locally to shoot the Golden Gate Bridge as a plate and send it to you, and you stick it on an LED screen and shoot the actor standing in front of it here in a studio, maybe in famous studios, or you actually have somebody shoot it there and have the director working in remote. So the getting the content in the can, as it used to be called when it was film, the ways of doing that today are multiple. And there are lots and lots and lots of tech workflows and softwares and mechanisms to ensure that it is done, whether the three people who are part of it are in the same room or no. With robotics, with virtual reality, with remote working, with and a lot of these technologies which have been deployed in medicine and the military in the past of remote access have made its way into the media and entertainment industry now. I mean, when you're doing deep sea drilling, nobody actually goes down the drill anymore. It's all done remote. Nobody's gone down for 20, 25 years. Right? So the same thing, if you can use it for something as complex as remote heart surgery, why can't you use it for something relatively simple as making a film or making an ad film or making a music video, which is what has started to be being deployed. So whether it's budgeting, scheduling, spread across a team that's all across the world, or whether it's a writer's room, which is done online, or whether it's a actual line production, which which is done through collaborative remote working, or it's post production. With the cloud becoming so easy, with internet access now being, really high speed internet access in India, in key locations being really good, with great cloud security, with excellent compression, decompression engine for data transfer. So with all these things coming in, working remote and working hybrid is easier and easier every day. I mean, we have students who are sitting in, like I have a student who's sitting in Guwahati who's able to access the footage of the film his film which he's editing, which was shot here, which is sitting in our server using VPN and remote desktop, using the software that is located on his iMac, the iMac that is on our campus, and through that accessing the our NAS server while he's sitting in Guwahati, and he's able to comfortably edit the film with literally no problem. So if at the student level, at the institute level, we can do it, imagine with more resources and much more kind of robust technologies that the production houses have at their disposal, Imagine what they could be doing. So I see it as a great opportunity which the smart production houses have seized. They have grabbed the opportunity to actually move on to the 21st century.
Which brings me to Anand, the 21st century studio MD. What do you have to add to that?
So again, I have to agree with Chaitanya because obviously, he's leading one of India's most premier institutions, and his job is to figure out what new technologies can be taught to the next generation, right? So even where we are concerned as a studio, we ourselves are in the process of building our own virtual studio. Now, whether this is going to be successful or not, it's anybody's guess because again, there are many different things involved in getting any kind of virtual production right. But the effort is 100%. And even with certain projects that we've experienced and we've delivered in the last year and a half over the pandemic, we have end of the day used very simple tech that's available, and we've tried to simplify things as much as possible. And I think that is the way to go. Sometimes I feel in India we overcomplicate things for no reason, or for that matter, I'm not going to generalize for our own nation, but globally things are overcomplicated. And if you know what your vision is for that particular film or an ad or a web show, it can be executed with the minimum amount of fuss. Everything is available. Like how Chaitanya mentioned today, we were having a discussion prior. Now, if a DOP is sitting in Delhi and he wants to see a final color grade or he wants to see a final shot, there are hundreds of different softwares by which a certain level of accuracy in color or frame size is available on an iPad Pro. I remember on my call with Netflix, they had mentioned that for all the shows that they were shooting during the pandemic, the DOPs were shipped out all the latest iPad Pros for them to check color, gamma, spaces, all of those things. So end of the day, if you got to do it, you got to do it. I mean, there's no point like sitting there making excuses that, oh, this won't happen, or it's not the right scenario, or this or that. If you want to be ahead of the curve and you want to push out content, you're going to have to find a way, right? It's as simple as that. And yeah, there are a couple of agencies that we've worked with in the last 6 months, all run by really young guys and pretty large teams, 300-400 plus. And the amount of content they've produced for digital platforms using simple DSLR camera technology, it doesn't even look like they've shot it on a Canon or a Sony A7. It feels like they've used a proper Arri Alexa or a Red camera or whatever it is used. So end of the day, it's basically stepping out of your comfort zone and figuring out what is the best and the most economical way by which you can push this content out to the final consumer. And if you have that willingness, there's no reason why you cannot execute it.
And apart from tackling these challenges, as you said, the budget, the other challenges the pandemic forced, it is also important to not lose that creative freedom and that excellence in content development, right? Because once that goes out of the window, I think the quality of what comes out, the outcome is not great. So talking about creative freedom and technology that aids that freedom, let's talk about Wacom's pen display and pen tablet. Rajiv, how would you say that these technologies have helped foster efficient and free content production?
First of all, the professional series or Cintiqs, which is the industry standard now. Mm-hmm. So the most important thing is accuracy. How accurate the pen is, which is the main tool for content creation, animation, and all. So, and how natural it feels in the hand and on the surface. So, does it give the natural feel? That is important. And the workflow, how fast, speed. To some extent, in production, speed may not be that important, but important is accuracy, color accuracy, plus the feel of it, how it feels like in the hand. And then when we talk about this space, streaming media, the way Netflix has come in and invested huge money in India, and of course they bought huge number of Wacom also recently, and they have distributed to so many creative guys who are associated with them. So going forward, how this can be integrated remotely, technology with the high power workstations at remote end. So that is something we are ready. So we are looking at something where artist gets the accuracy of the work, and he gets natural feel, and he gets exactly what he wants. There's no bottleneck. So I don't think there's anything lacking. It's just about how we plan, how we can minimize the communication gaps, as sometime back Chaitanya was mentioning. So I think more or less there's a great opportunity ahead of all of us.
And tagging on the same emotion, Chaitanya, as I mentioned, creative freedom is as important. So do you think the remote or hybrid, the new wave of remote and hybrid, has that in any way sort of curbed creative freedom, or the possibilities that an artist could actually do while actually being on set or on studio?
So there are a couple of aspects to this, right? One is the ideation, which, yes, it has.
Yeah.
Right? And
That's okay.
it's primarily because a lot of ideation happens in between meetings.
Correct.
Right? So if you actually sit down in the brainstorming meeting, you may not come up with an idea. But if two people get up together to go to the water cooler to drink a glass of water, and something hits them and they bounce off a what if of each other, that's when the spark of a new idea gets lit, which can be brought into the writer's room and then discussed. This is very difficult to do when we are boxes on a screen.
Yeah. Sure.
Right? So this human touch, this what if, this bouncing of ideas, this, and our industry is, it's chai and cigarettes. So, that the chai and cigarette break in the middle of a shoot is really when a lot of the what if brilliant ideas come. Now that is is difficult to do when you're boxes. But so that's on the ideation, on the creative, new ideas side. But if it comes to ingenuity in solutions and problem solving, I think the pandemic has enabled that as well. So what you would normally do physically, what you would normally do with using, say, human labor, which you can't do now, you have had to find an ingenious digital, electronic, technology enabled solution for it, and people have found it, right? And those solutions are going to remain forever. Trust you me, we will not go back to doing what we were once the pandemic goes, because people have discovered the efficiencies of it, right? Like zero-based budgeting for the number of people on set.
Correct.
If you go to some of the biggest movies ever made globally, if you go to their set, there are maybe 150, 200 people on it. And this, I'm talking of massive productions, other than the extras, actual cast and crew, 150, 200. In India, you go to a mid-budget regional film, there'll be 300 people on set. And you have no idea what they do. But because of the set restriction, number of people being restricted on set, this has forced producers and line producers to do a very careful evaluation of how many people do I really need on set. And this is not going to change once we move out of the pandemic. They are going to continue to work with the reduced workforce that this pandemic has brought on. But that doesn't mean, so that is an addition, that is a benefit, that is forcing people to think differently. So it has, it's dual. In some cases it has benefited. I do believe that in some cases it has impended ideation, and the light bulb brainwave kind of that has reduced, right? Which is also probably why Anant was talking about so many books being remade, because you've got content now, so you don't have these new ideas coming in. You think, acha yaar, jo hai usko to repurpose karte hain. So
Exactly, yeah.
it's all a domino effect. One thing leads to another. So at some point of time when we get back and get back on the set floor or in a conference room sitting with colleagues, things will be different when it comes back the same rather when it comes to ideation. But some of these pandemic induced efficiencies will continue forever. So I think it's a good
Makes sense.
balance.
Yeah. So do you second that, Anant? Anything that you have witnessed at Famous that you'd like to point out? If is it better for you? Is it giving birth to a lot more creativity, or it's a mix for you as well? How is it for you?
I think it's been a mix for us. Definitely, some artists are able to use their own imagination, and then whatever technology they use at home, or when they're not in a physical setting with other people, they'll still come up with 4 or 5 different options of the same shot or the same backdrop or whatever. But there's some people who need that backing and that nod of their creative director's head. You're in the right direction now, create something like this. So it all depends person to person. Obviously for us, we do a lot of concept design, matte painting for for our clients. So yes, fortunately the team that we have, they've been with us for quite a long time, over a decade now, and they've understood how to work in both scenarios. So they've come to the party, fortunately, at a time when we needed them the most, and when our clients need them the most. And fortunately, it's all worked out really well. And yes, it is something that's going to stay, no doubt. And I think I'm sure there'll be many other such softwares, and I'm sure Wacom themselves will keep creating more things that will assist filmmakers,
Yes.
achieve what they really want to achieve. So yeah, again, it's been a good mix for us as well.
Okay, and exactly, and that sort of brings me to the next point. So how do you think streaming companies can rationalize content workflows in the post-corona era once everything? I mean, looks like everything should head back to normal in some time. So once everything does, how do you think streaming companies could rationalize content workflows in the post-corona era? Chaitanya, Anand, anybody who wants to go?
The other thing I think all of us missed out, I think Rajiv did mention it though. The reason why the OTT players are doing really well right now, they're all backed with a lot of money. Single piece of content that is being produced and published out there is good. But because they've got the firepower to invest, and then you've got people like Disney, Netflix. This is going to be an ongoing thing, and sooner or later, it is going to be a proper business model for them also.
Yeah, there is a lot of money that's come in, which is good. But I think the bigger benefit that these players have brought in is actually they've brought in much better planning and management and pre-production expertise, which is what will enable us to really do well. So over the next 10 years, you will see the massive exponential benefit that good planning, which sits on top of the fantastic execution that India has. India is able to execute things like nobody else.
Right.
And we have had so many international filmmakers who've come to Whistling Woods, who shot in India, who see the way we work, and they
Right.
are continuously amazed on how we are able to create content like Lagan, for example, right? Anywhere in the world, it would not be a 40 crore film. It
Right.
would have been a 200 crore film, almost anywhere in the world. So the ability that India has to execute both principal photography, post-production, animation, VFX, imagine if that is galvanized by great planning and great management. That is really what will come in post-pandemic. But to answer what you initially asked as well, is some of the pre-pandemic activities we will go back to it. Like, I don't think work from home is going to be a long-term solution, not in our industry. Maybe in some other industry, software, whatever, but definitely not in our industry. we will definitely have everybody around the together. Physical space is very important. That said, you may be able to do some remote working, which you otherwise would not have been, primarily because of lack of ability. So, say for example, you have this fantastic DOP who super specializes in doing, I don't know, action videography, and you really need him or her to take this one shot for you, which is a money shot. And he or she is already shooting some complex acrobatic sequence in the Amazon rainforest, and it's just not possible for them to fly over for 1 day or 2 days that you really need them. But now with a remote production workflow being evolved, he or she could very well shoot the same sequence as you want them to while continuing to be in Brazil while your production is happening here.
Right.
So these kind of things will happen, right? So it's really up to somebody and studio heads, production, post production, all studio heads to sit down once this pandemic unlock is over and evaluate, saying what did we do over the past year and a half, 2 years? What is the good that we can retain? What is the bad that we need to leave behind and move back to what we were doing earlier? So this evaluation exercise will really yield some nice results.
Right. Rajiv, anything you want to add to this?
I think
Era, what do you see tomorrow for the tomorrow of media?
I think Chaitanya has already asked a lot of good points. That yes, physical proximity and physical touch is definitely, it cannot happen. Production cannot happen without that. The industry, this industry won't work. It is not an IT industry, creative industry, film industry. So it will definitely not going to work remotely. Even though the best technologies are available, it won't work that way. But yes, in a hybrid scenario, the companies like streaming companies like Netflix and all, the way things are getting organized, systems will be created, formats will be created in long run, where the technology won't be the front end driver, but definitely it will be supporting the overall workflow. So that's how we look at the hybrid workflow in long run. Even if pandemic situation, we come out of it. So global connectivity and remote working to some extent, that will also create give opportunities to talent to connect remotely. And there can be many opportunities for creative guys, and that's where creative freedom you were talking about. That will be the real scenario of creative freedom.
Now that Anand is back, we have you back, Anand. You can you were saying something. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry about that glitch. So I'll just add one point, just to keep it short. Again, how Rajiv and Chaitanya both mentioned, end of the day, you see the OTT guys will come in with the money. Okay, but at the end of the day, they are not the guys who are eventually on the floor. They are not producing. They are partnering with someone to produce, right? End of the day. Applause is doing the same. Netflix is doing the same globally, and so is Amazon Prime and even Disney Hotstar to a certain extent. It is a responsibility of studio owners, service providers, and all the top creative professionals that are part of that project to ensure that they use the tech available in today's challenging times to ensure a brilliant outcome. Okay.
Right.
But that being said, just how everyone's mentioned that it's not something that's going to last. People will want to get together, work from home. Like I can't stand it personally. And I'm sure moving forward in the industry, people will want to get together. I remember father telling me on multiple occasions that when in our Mahalakshmi facility, when we really started introducing post in the 1980s and 1990s, the ideas came from the corridors and from the cafe, from people smoking outside.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's where the ideas came out, because you would have a sound engineer coming out from the studio, and he would be pulling one director and saying, "Arey, see what new work I've done in 5.1 or whatever in stereo."
Correct.
And that guy be like, "Arey, yaar, damn good, yeah. Can you maybe mix this for me also?" So one thing led to another. It was very word of mouth. It was a lot of PRO went into building relationships, and that's something that's never going to change globally. Let's hit the nail on the head. And the other thing which I want to add is, you see, today you also have certain films, like two classic examples I'll give you is the new Top Gun film, Maverick, and the new James Bond film. There's a reason why they've not gone to OTT. If you see the making of Top Gun Maverick, that they've actually loaded 6 small IMAX quality cameras in the rear pilot seat to capture the G-forces that a pilot feels when the thing is going at Mach 2 and the pilot pulls up, the whole face is falling down. Now, yes, you can watch it on the television, but that is meant to be watched in IMAX.
Yeah.
I mean, I will wait 2 more years till the cinemas open up to watch Maverick, because it's, I've been watching Top Gun 1,000 times already since 1986. And same goes with a Bond film. Now, James Bond also, the cinematography is very, scenic. So if Daniel Craig is jumping off the bridge, the DOP is capturing the entire scale of the shot, not just a close-up of him jumping off. That cannot be experienced on an OTT platform. So you see, that is the challenge, I feel, maybe for the next 6 months to 1 year. But eventually, I still do feel OTT does present an opportunity to a larger audience, number one. Two, we must not forget the fact that the biggest plus of the OTT platforms has been the amount of employment opportunities that it has given rise to, not only to the next generation of directors, DOPs, but even talent, even studios like us. We're very grateful that OTT exists, because now we have the opportunity to serve them as well, and we're able to work with some of the biggest names. So, I think it will eventually develop into a very healthy ecosystem where each vertical of the M&E industry will take cues, standard operating procedures from the other side where it's working well, and they will try and enable it for their own vertical. So I really see the entire industry blossoming in the future, not only for the next generation, but for the current generation. And it will really give a lot of opportunity, employment opportunity. And I also believe India as a nation has so many stories to tell. You go into a small town in Maharashtra also, you can make a web series there with the kind of stories that you will hear.
Correct.
And regional, as I mentioned, I don't want to harp on it again, but we really have a lot of opportunity.
So so to conclude it, I'd say OTT is the way forward, but also it does not by any chance subdue the value of real theatrical cinema. I'd say that would probably be our conclusion. Yes, for now OTT it's everything, but eventually I think maybe there comes a time when people will ache to actually go to a cinema and watch a movie on full screen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yes.
People have predicted the death of cinema multiple times when,
Correct, yes.
when the VCR was launched, when DVDs when LDs were launched, when DVDs were launched, when YouTube came around, when OTTs came around. It's never going to die. It's a completely different content consumption platform. It's captive community viewing, right? Where there is a significant amount of the impact that a larger than life experience has. That is, it cannot be replicated anywhere, right? So it's cinema is like OTT is like playing table tennis. Cinema is like playing tennis,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
One is you're outside the content. In cinema, it's you're inside. It's much more immersive than small screen or mini screen consumption. So cinema, television, OTT have all distinct content, unique content characteristics, and all of them will always continue.
Absolutely.
Just to add to this, cinema owners, I'm talking Inox, PVR, long list of expansion plans even right now. So we've not even touched the surface in India. Remember, India does not have many screens. as compared to
Yeah.
China and maybe anywhere else. And
We're one of the world's most
for
underscreened
us,
markets.
most underscreened market. And today, going to watch movie in a multiplex is not just for the movie; it's the entire experience that goes with it.
Experience, correct.
पूरा family, the whole family is going popcorn खाएंगे, dinner खाएंगे. Now you see even the Inoxes and PVRs of the world, they're offering high quality consumables along with the cinema experience.
Yes.
So it's an outing for the family. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what our culture is all about.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. It sort of brings the community together. I'd say it's a uniting experience, right? Like when everybody stands up in the theater for the national anthem. It's a binding concept.
Yes,
Something that brings
absolutely.
people together in the country. And because India is a land of storytellers and stories, and people love stories in India. We're all storytellers. We always have stories. So I think yeah. Again, I agree to that. That would never fade. The thrill of going to a cinema and sitting down and watching a movie with your friends and family while having popcorn. That would never fade, yes. Yes, but then for now, I think OTT it is, as and people who are missing out and going out to cinemas, I think OTT is bringing them a lot of solace. So as you said, yes, it's never just one side. It's always a mix of two things. So yes, that is great, and I think that was a very, very great, because we are almost running out of time. That was a very, very great session with some very well said points by Rajiv, Chaitanya, and Anand. Thank you very much for your inputs. And before I conclude, I would like to have a video played. Shivali, could you just help us with it? Some great technology there, Rajiv. Thank you for being a part of this webinar presented by Wacom and Digital Studio India. And anything that you'd want to add, Rajiv, to conclude?
Yeah, thank you so much for playing this video and giving this opportunity to Wacom. And
Our pleasure.
And, Chaitanya and it was really nice to have your valuable points. It will really help the whole industry, and I think we all must work together and look at the opportunities ahead and give the best solutions and work on the best possible solutions involving technology and the current workflow. Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, our esteemed panelists. Thank you, Rajiv, again. Thank you, Anand, and thank you, Chaitanya. And so, yes, thank you again. Stay safe till we meet again. And let's hope we meet in the post-corona world as soon as possible.
Yes.
And thank you. Stay safe. Take care.